The olive tree is a prominent feature in the Mediterranean landscape. The olive tree originated from the eastern shores of the Mediterranean and spread to other Mediterranean countries. The tree can live for centuries, as it is able to renew itself if part of it is damaged. And indeed, ancient trees have survived in the region despite damage caused by man and nature. The first vegetable oil used by people in ancient times was extracted from the olive fruit. Remnants of the ancient olive presses in the region bear witness to this. Olive oil also served our ancestors for illumination in clay vessels, which were found here, and as a basis for cosmetics that were stored in attractive glass jars. Olive growing has gained momentum in recent years, and the growing areas have expanded due to the increasing awareness of its health and medicinal value. The development of organic agriculture in the area has not skipped over this industry, which has adopted organic growing methods. Organic growers have proven that it is possible to achieve high, excellent quality yields using modern methods without synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. Organic growing in the Mediterranean basin is based on the basic IFOAM standard. This standard requires organic plots to be 30 meters from plots that are sprayed on the ground and 200 meters from plots that are sprayed from the air. Traditional preparation of seedlings, as in Albania, is based on sowing olive seeds from local wild varieties. The variety that is required by the market is grafted onto the stock to ensure maximum compatibility of the plant with the growing region. Plants are also propagated using heated propagation tables and misting. Commercial nurseries have developed propagation methods which are based on controlled conditions, such as maintaining humidity and temperature, which produce uniform rooted cutting without grafting. Organic agriculture principles are meticulously adhered to at all times. The young trees are grown under a net covering which protects them from high radiation levels. In many places, it is conventional already in the nursery to shape the plant into the form that it will grow in the orchard. In the nursery that we visited, the sapling is shaped into one 80-centimeter high trunk to create a tree suitable for mechanical harvest. The subsoiler is the most suitable equipment for preparing the area with deep tilling. The subsoiler breaks up the deep soil layers without turning them over and damaging the soil's microbial balance. The planting holes are dug according to the required positioning. The hole is dug about 40 centimeters deep. The bottom of the hole is filled with mature compost, which is used to improve the soil and serves as a nutrient reserve for the young tree. The compost is mixed with the local soil. The sapling is placed in the planting hole and covered with the soil. The soil must be pressed down firmly around the sapling. A basin is formed around the sapling, and it is watered with a bucket to ensure a supply of water to the plant and to stabilize the soil in the planting hole. In the first period after planting, the soil must be kept moist around the sapling in non-irrigated orchards as well. In order to reduce evaporation of water from the soil, it is recommended to cover the basin with organic mulch, such as wood chips, straw, or compost. In arid regions, it is recommended to build crescent-shaped basins which will capture the runoff and penetrate it into the root zone. Sometimes the young tree is protected from damage by animals with a plastic sleeve. The sleeve also protects the sapling from wind and frost damage and accelerates its growth. The young tree is shaped into one straight trunk. A support stake is placed close to the sapling. The sapling is tied to the stake by an H shape to prevent damage to the trunk. A single 80 to 90 centimeter high trunk is left without splitting. A single and exposed trunk will make cultivation easier, and it is especially important for tackling weeds with organic agriculture. A single trunk will also enable mechanized shaking if necessary. The number of trees in a plot is influenced by the variety, growing method, and region. In non-irrigated orchards, up to 360 trees can be squeezed into a hectare. With the development of the trees and the closing of the canopy, some growers thin out the orchard and cut down half of the trees until a final number of about 180 trees per hectare is reached. In non-irrigated orchards in rainy areas, it is customary to plant up to 200 trees per hectare. In arid regions, the trees are thinned out to 15 trees per hectare. Well-prepared compost is the basis for fertile soil, which provides the tree with a balanced, optimum supply of nutrients. In organic plots, it is customary to apply compost once a year or once every 2 years. The amount of compost applied varies according to the development of the soil's fertility. Good compost is compost that is prepared properly, with maximum monitoring of the source material and production conditions. During production, the temperature rises to about 60 degrees. Proper heating of the heap ensures the destruction of weeds and pathogens. On the other hand, overheating creates a lot of ashes due to the self-incineration of the organic material. The compost is mixed during its production to ensure proper ventilation of the heap. During preparation, it is important to add moisture using low-volume sprayers which prevent runoff and environmental pollution. Nitafim has recently developed a drip line system for wetting the compost heap. The drip line further improves control over wetting the heap. The Dead Sea, which is the lowest point in the world, is rich in potassium chlorite. Potassium chlorite is produced naturally from the Dead Sea by evaporation using solar energy in designated pools. Potassium chloride is a soluble fertilizer which can be applied through the irrigation system. Potassium chloride can also be applied by foliage spraying. This is natural fertilizer and is approved for use in organic agriculture. Potassium is an essential element for olive trees, and it contributes to the development of the fruit and oil. Intermediate crops serve to improve the soil's fertility and prevent weeds. The ameliorating crop, which can be grain or legume, is sown during the winter and covered up at the end of the rainy season or before flowering. The natural winter weeds can also improve the soil if they are mowed before flowering. The mown weeds are left on the surface as a covering, which helps to maintain soil humidity, or are mixed into the soil by rotivating, enriching it with organic material. Straw mulching is another way to improve the soil's fertility and save water. This also enriches the soil with organic decomposition and encourages the soil's microflora. Mulching the orchard with black plastic sheets is another way to tackle weeds. The sheets block the light and reduce evaporation, but enable water and air to pass through. The covering preserves humidity and microorganisms in the soil and facilitates the harvest activities. Weeds compete with the olive trees for nutrients and water, and their damage must be controlled. Weeding is important around young trees. In mature trees, it is possible to use different types of motorized scythes. Cultivation destroys weed sprouts, reduces evaporation, and improves the soil's ability to absorb rainwater. This does not upturn the soil and maintains its microbial balance. Cracks in the soil lead to tearing of the roots and loss of water. Cracks are also prevented by cultivation. Disking serves to cope with the more established weeds or with perennial weeds with which the cultivator has difficulty in coping. On slopes or in places where compacting is a concern, a caterpillar tractor should be used. Sometimes animals perform the job for us. Flocks of sheep which graze in the olive groves also help to cope with weeds. The sheep that graze in the area also help to improve the soil with their droppings. It is important to ensure entry of the flock into the orchard only when the soil is relatively dry to prevent unwanted soil compaction. The animals also eat the fallen olives. Many of these olives are contaminated by the olive fly, and this helps to decrease the fly population. We also encountered turkeys which graze in the olive groves. Peacocks can also contribute to improving the sanitation of the organic orchard. Flocks of geese also enjoy the organic orchard's healthy weeds. The organic treatments nurture the orchard's natural biological balance, preserve the natural enemies, and reduce the need for artificial intervention. The olive fly is considered to be the main pest in olive crops in our region. The fly attacks the fruit and causes it to drop. This fruit becomes unsuitable for quality oil extraction. A special trap has recently been developed for the olive fly with different types of bait. The bait draws the fly to the trap and prevents it from laying eggs in the fruit. Peacock spot causes leaves to shed and damages the following year's yield. Proper pruning enables penetration of light and drying of the foliage and helps to contain the disease. Preventative spraying with copper material, which is approved in organic agriculture, enables efficient management of the disease. The olive bark beetle develops in new branches, and especially in trimmed branches that are left in the orchard. It is easy to prevent the development of the pest by pruning broken and dry branches and ensuring spraying of the trimmed branches. The jasmine moth mainly damages new growth in young orchards and fruit in a yielding orchard. This can be controlled by Bt. The olive mite damages foliage and fruit in young trees and can be controlled by sulfur. Other pests and diseases are treated as needed while consulting a professional instructor. Modern orchards are irrigated with drip systems. Drip irrigation is efficient and precise, saves water, and requires a relatively low volume. The drip system is easy to lay out. The system is flexible and it can be adapted to the position and size of the plants. In organic agriculture, it is important for drippers to be closely spaced to each other to ensure efficient wetting of the compost which is spread around the trees. Surplus drippers can easily be plugged by installing special bands. In order to ensure the correct dripper position, a tube can be installed on it. The system head controls the irrigation system. This regulates the water volume. The filter is installed at the system head and ensures clean water to prevent dripper clogging. Installation of a suspended dripper system enables treatment of the orchard while preventing damage to the irrigation system by mechanical cultivation. Olives can also be irrigated with micro-sprinklers, which are also suspended. Installation of suspended micro-sprinklers provides misting and cooling when it is hot and dry, which may prevent damage to fruit set. The olive trees are pruned every year at the end of the harvest to enable penetration of light to the tree. The pruned branch dries the moisture in the tree and reduces its susceptibility to disease and pests. Dry and broken branches are removed during growth. It is important to leave jags at the pruning points so that the branch will not dry up. The pruned branch encourages the new growth. This new growth ensures next year's yield, since the olive tree only carries its yield on the previous year's young growth. Mechanized and mobile equipment facilitates pruning, makes it more efficient, and enables significant savings in human resources. The sucker shoots that grow at the root neck must be removed to maintain the tree's shape and to prevent competition for carbohydrates. The trimmed branches are crushed in the orchard, as is conventional in organic agriculture, which aspires to return most of the organic material to the ground. Crushing is important to prevent establishment and development of pests and diseases and to accelerate the trimmed branches' decomposition process. The growing demand for quality olive oil has led to the rehabilitation of previously neglected ancient olive orchards. The olive tree, which has been granted eternal life, can be renewed by directed pruning and grafting, which will bring even a neglected grove to full production within a relatively short time. In Albania, a label with an identity number is attached to each tree, a sign of the olive tree's great importance in this country. Monitoring fulfillment of the organic standards constitutes the basis of the consumer's trust in the organic product. Inspection is conducted by an authorized inspection party, which is authorized by IFOAM, the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements. The inspection in the orchard is conducted by leaf and soil samples. The samples from the orchard are tested in a laboratory for pesticides and fertilizers, which are forbidden for use in organic agriculture. In an experimental farm in Albania, as in many other Mediterranean experimental farms, field experiments and researches are conducted to improve the management of growing organic olives. Experiments are conducted with covering methods and optimum crops on soil fertility and prevention of disruption by weeds. Emphasis was placed on experiments in plant protection by applying methods of scouting and mass trapping of pests while minimizing the damage to natural enemies and avoiding chemicals which are forbidden in organic agriculture. The research results are distributed in Mediterranean countries by the AgroBio Mediterraneu, ABM-IFOM Mediterranean Group. The organization transfers information between instructors and researchers and contributes greatly to improving the growing results in the region. The oil starts to accumulate in the fruit starts after pit hardening. When the fruit is green, it is unripe. There is a high level of polyphenols which contribute to the oil's bitterness and pungency. Late harvest, when the olives are completely black, results in a more delicate oil since there is a lower level of polyphenols. However, there is a risk of losing some of the fruit as a result of the abscission, damage to the oil quality, and increased oxidation as a result of damage by pests and disease. The most suitable stage for harvest is when the color changes. This stage is characterized by the highest volume of best quality oil. The amount of polyphenols is relatively small, and the oil takes on the desired aroma and flavor. The peak of olive growing is the harvest, when the family comes together for the experience. The traditional harvest is conducted by beating with sticks and has been practiced in the area since ancient times. This method damages the young branches, which should carry the fruit in the coming year. The fruit is also damaged and may oxidize and damage the oil quality. Although the hand picking requires more work, it preserves the young shoots and the fruit. Some growers shake the fruit onto plastic sheets, which are spread out on the ground. Storing the fruit in ventilated plastic crates prevents its heating and maintains the quality of the olive oil which is produced from it. The plastic crates are preferable to sacks, which are not sufficiently ventilated. Mechanical harvest methods have penetrated into the industry in recent years. In organic olive growing, the vibrating rake method, manufactured by the Italian Patrolini and operated by mobile pneumatic equipment, has been found to be most efficient. The method is easy to operate, its capacity is high, it does not damage the young growth and preserves the fruit. This method eliminates the need for spraying of hormones, which weaken the stalk and which are forbidden for use in organic agriculture. Pruning equipment can also be installed on the pneumatic operation system. Fruit that has fallen is collected separately. This fruit is not fit for human consumption and should be channeled to the soap industry. Until the previous century, olive presses, which used the same methods as those of our forefathers, could be found in the Mediterranean basin. The principle of crushing olives with grindstones and extracting oil by pressure and without heating has been preserved until today. Today, there are a number of methods in the region to extract the oil. In this olive press, olive crushing and grinding is conducted with grindstones, which are driven by an electric motor. The pulp is placed in baskets as in the ancient method. The pulp in the baskets is pressed with a hydraulic press at high pressure. In many olive presses, the olives pass through a leaf separator before crushing. This ensures quality oil without a bitter taste. In more modern olive presses, hammer crushers are used. The pulp is mixed in a special apparatus. The olives are fed automatically. The oil is squeezed out by a very powerful hydraulic press. The oil is separated from the water with a centrifugal separator. In this system, the oil is extracted under good sanitary conditions, which enables the production of excellent quality olive oil. In olive presses with a continuous system, the olives are raised on a conveyor belt, the leaves are separated in a combined system, and the olives are thoroughly washed. All the processes are automatic and are controlled from a central control point. This type of olive press is equipped with decanters, which replace the presses. Initial separation of oil and water is conducted in the decanter. The final separation of the oil and water is conducted with a vertical centrifuge. The oil that is produced here is of excellent quality, with a high sanitation level which is appropriate for organic oil. The residents of the Mediterranean basin know what first-rate olive oil is and know how to appreciate its taste. Olive oil is a basic component in most ethnic dishes in the Mediterranean basin. Perfect oil is extracted from organic olives. It is both healthy and pesticide-free. Pickled olives constitute about 20% of all olive production in the region. The olives are pickled without preservatives, according to organic agriculture regulations. Organic olive products have a respectable place on the shelves of organic shops, and their demand is growing from year to year. The Italian Bile Foundation holds an annual international convention in Andria, southern Italy. The convention is accompanied by cultural and culinary events, during which a quality organic oil competition is conducted. Organic oil producers from all over the world participate in the competition. An international board of judges chooses the best olive oils in the world, according to fixed measures.